nation's new trade inspections that'll have to come in when things are shipped from the mainland of Europe, where there is still freedom of, still free travel, still free movement of goods. And they won't know anything about the backstop either. It's just going to be an absolute mess, pretty much, if this New Deal does go down in the way it does. Yeah, so, I mean, again, the thing is, the normally fractious opposition swiftly united in outrage at Johnson's maneuver on Wednesday, which brought protesters onto the streets in London and other cities across the country, while an online petition against the action drew well over 1 million signatures. The move strained relations within Johnson's Conservative Party and prompted claims from critics the government was trampling on the convention of the country's unwritten constitution, undermining its democracy. On Wednesday, Johnson had Queen Elizabeth II approve a plan to restrict the sittings of the Parliament in September and October, reducing his critics' chances of legislating to prevent Britain from leaving with a no deal. That's pretty much how it's going to play out there. That reduces his critics' chances of stopping the no deal, which would make it very, very helpful for his own political goals. The Conservative Party leader in Scotland, Ruth Davidson, resigned on Thursday, saying she carefully avoided criticizing Johnson in a resignation letter and a news conference, giving the timing. The British news media linked her action to the Prime Minister's. Davidson opposes a no-deal Brexit, but she said she trusted Johnson's assurances he doesn't intend to reach agreement with the EU by October 31st. Which is pretty much very, very unlikely. Because it took Theresa May like half a year to try and reach it, and he'll only have like 3 weeks, really, 3-4 weeks. No, I think he's got like 2 months. But it's not going to happen. It's most likely going to be, I think, a no deal at this point. And I'm see if we can get some on-the-ground reaction from our good friend Mr. Cowles in London to get his kind of take on the matter, because he'll definitely have some pretty interesting things to say. It's very, very connected to what's going on, obviously, over in Britain. Lord Young of Cookham, a former cabinet minister, resigned as a Conservative whip of the House of Lords on Thursday, saying in a letter that Johnson's action risks undermining the fundamental role of Parliament in a critical time in our history and reinforces the view that the government may not have the confidence of the House for its Brexit policy. Numerous reports by bodies including the Bank of England and the International Monetary Fund have said a no-deal Brexit would be chaotic and seriously damage Britain's economy. Leaks from the government itself have warned of the possibility of jammed ports and shortages of some medicines and fuel and food as well. Majority of lawmakers are on record opposing such an outcome, but Johnson, who became the Prime Minister last month, has promised to leave the EU on the scheduled date, preferably with agreement, but without one, if necessary. But in an overnight poll, far more Britons opposed it than supported his suspension of Parliament, and angry comments calling it undemocratic peppered social media, with many with the hashtag Stop the Coup. Because imagine if we were about to make a major decision and Trump was just like, okay, the House can't pass any laws for X amount of time until the decision happens. Like for example, we had to make a decision by Christmas, and he was like, okay, you can only debate and make a law to stop me for 2 weeks in the month of December. Like, the first 2 weeks of the month of December. Like, people would be like, what the hell? Like, it would be like, maybe like we were going to war or something like that. Like, that's how drastic that decision is. It literally has the same consequences as something catastrophic, like a wartime situation or some major, major policy proposal that would really shake things up and affect the life of every American. That's pretty much the same thing of really what's happening in Britain. The Speaker of the House of Commons, John Bercow, a former Conservative Chancellor, and a former Conservative Chancellor of the Exchequer, I don't know what that is, Philip Hammond, each called it a constitutional outrage. Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the Labour Party, labeled it a sort of smash and grab on our democracy. But Jacob Rees-Mogg, a hardline Brexit supporter and Conservative leader in the House of Commons on Thursday, defended the government's decision, arguing that there would still be adequate time to debate Brexit, but the real threat to Britain's unwritten constitution, in the Daily Telegraph, he wrote, came from those who opposed Brexit and wanted to overturn the 2016 referendum decision to leave the bloc. So, yeah, I mean, again, having a no deal, having a people's vote, as they want to call it there in Brexit, in Britain, having pretty much another vote on this decision, it would be very, very tough to pass, very, very tough to get through, but it's it's not as precarious as what they are doing right now. That's for damn sure. I'll let you know if before the show comes out, of course, Mr. Cowles gets in touch with us again here in the newsroom studios. But until then, we're going to move on to James Comey. He's criticized in a Watchdog report over handling of memos about Trump. Adam Goldman of the New York Times has a story. A Justice Department Inspector General released on Thursday a report that was highly critical of former FBI Director James Comey handling memos detailing interaction with the president, accusing him of setting a dangerous example for officials with access to government secrets. The findings were a result of a lengthy investigation by Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General who examined whether Comey had acted inappropriately when he gave one of those memos to a confidant who later provided its contents to the New York Times. Comey had said he helped make the information public in part to bring about the appointment of a special counsel, which is apparently a violation of FBI policy. President Trump and his allies are sure to use the report's conclusions to attack Comey, whom the president fired abruptly in 2017 and partly blames for the opening of the Russian investigation, which threatened the presidency from its inception. So pretty much the idea is here that he was just too fast and loose with these documents, which, I mean, again, it's probably a better thing that he did do that because the special counsel is definitely something that needed to happen, obviously, to get this, because there was just so much going on. This FBI investigation was not good at all. It was really kind of devastating. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens down the road here. And if James Comey's, I mean, what are they even going to do? What are they even going to do? He's pretty much a private citizen anymore. Who cares? Like, the collusion battle is over. It's like, stop with this. And we'll get to this a little bit later. With Mr. O'Donnell of MSNBC, Mr. Lawrence, Mr. Larry O.D., pretty much ODing on the Russia story is what you could really call it. But yeah, that's coming up as well. But first, we have another dropout. Bow, bow, bow. Kirsten Gillibrand is out. Here is her long overdue announcement that she is leaving this campaign, baby. She posted this on Twitter.
Hey everyone, I wanted you to hear it from me first.
All right, I apologize, I put the wrong thing on there. But here she is again talking about, I wanted you to hear it from me first. I'm ending my campaign for president. I'm so proud of this team, everything we've accomplished. Here's what she said.
After more than 8 incredible months, I'm ending my presidential campaign.
All right, yeah, we're having a little bit of problems there with the audio, but we...
I know this isn't the result we wanted. We wanted to win this race. But it's important to know when it's not your time, and to know how you can best serve your community and country. I believe I can best serve by helping to unite us to beat Donald Trump in 2020. During this campaign, I've met some of the most inspiring, brave people all across this country, from Iowa to New Hampshire, from Georgia to Michigan.
Have you had me in tears when you're talking about the disabilities?
I will make sure your voice is heard. I promise. Thank you. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done for this team. Thank you for volunteering, donating, and committing to our campaign.
You're kicking butt every single day.
Thank you for sharing your stories with me. Thank you for opening up your living rooms, breweries, and cycling studios.
Who cares? She's gone. Bye. Literally doing a cycle, but whatever. Yeah, in her announcement video, again, pretty much with the biggest quote of the day, it's important to know when it's not your time. And maybe Kirsten, you could possibly send that message to a few other people, maybe like 10 other people in the race who should definitely drop out at this point, because excuse me, they're pretty much in the way. And that, by the way, includes Tulsi Gabbard. She said she will endorse another candidate, but she has not decided who. So she's not just going to go pull an Obama endorse the nominee. No word yet on who she'll choose, though. The New York Times said that a female would be. She's told the New York Times that a female would be, quote, inspiring and exciting, unquote. Pick a female. In the race, you go with Kamala, you could go with Tulsi. That's not going to happen, but Elizabeth, I think it's either going to be Elizabeth Warren or Kamala who she's going to endorse if she wants a woman. It's definitely not going to be Bernie. That's for damn sure. But yeah, Elizabeth Warren definitely, hopefully, would be the choice she picked. But knowing her, I think she's going to pick Kamala because that's just who she is. She is a corporate Democrat. It's just the reality situation. In May, back in May, she was reportedly begging crowds to send a single $1 to help her qualify for the debates. So she was never really off to a great start. And apparently, Big Pharma hosted a campaign fundraiser for her as well. She was recently polling at 0.1%, according to Real Clear Politics. It's clear she's received really way too much blame and negativity for her extremely cool role in pushing former Minnesota Senator Al Franken's resignation after harassment allegations and a literal photo. But again, I don't really know how much it hurt her because it probably hurt her with a small segment of the Democratic base, but and maybe a little bit with the elites too, who were friends with Al Franken as well. Personally, if I were Al Franken, I would have stayed on and probably would have been clear to the ethics investigation and held on to my seat in a deep blue district. But I'd rather not have him in there. I'd rather have Tina Smith in there, who's currently in there right now doing a great job, by the way, than someone like Al Franken, who is just going to be kind of a lightning rod, and whose really only contribution to things will be just grilling people in the Senate. Is what he pretty much he did. But Tina Smith is, from what I understand, a bit more progressive, so that's always good to see. So that's it. That's our Kirsten story. All right. This is going to be interesting here, folks. Donald Trump demanding now that all, quote unquote, all apologize after botched MSNBC report about his ties to Russia. So, yeah, crazy Lawrence O'Donnell, who's been calling me wrong from even before I announced my run for the presidency, even being forced by NBC to apologize, which he did while crying for things that he said about me and The Apprentice, was again forced to apologize, this time for the most ridiculous claim of all, that Russia, or Russian oligarchs co-signed loan documents for me, a guarantee. Totally false, as is virtually everything else he and much of the lamestream media has said about me for years. All apologize. That's what he said. So pretty much the story, as you may or not have been able to decipher from that kind of broken English there, is about Lawrence O'Donnell, who he issued a hasty retraction over his previous claim the night before that a number of Deutsche Bank loans from Trump have been co-signed by Russian oligarchs close to Vladimir Putin. Again, first of all, I'm going to give Lawrence O'Donnell some credit here. He apologized literally the next night on the show. Very sincere in his retraction, I thought. And that's always good to see from someone who purports to be a journalist. No one on the right wing would ever do that. Never, ever, ever, because they're just not serious journalists. And he did apologize, so I'll give him credit for that. But boy, was it funny to kind of see this whole thing go down. So the president's screed against O'Donnell has all the characteristics of a Trump rant. So lame nickname emasculating aside, and a black hole of self-pity again. Trump, again, has spent the bulk of his 73 years on the planet lying all the time, lying about saying he was the Messiah. I didn't say that at all. It just literally makes up things that people say about him. He literally, what's some other stuff here? Lying about inciting violence against a sitting Congresswoman, Ilhan Omar, lying about the environment literally all the time, saying that Obama was responsible for the environment, and he's got the cleanest air and crystal clean water. He's helped preserve, as we talked about. He literally is letting people against the will. He's letting oil and gas companies literally against their own will, literally just destroy the environment on their own, which is amazing. So yeah, that's all great. But speaking of Trump, anyway, again, O'Donnell apologized, but there's some pretty funny stuff going on with this clip. I do want to play that. for you here. This is the tweet with. Yeah, so this is kind of the moment where Rachel